Hello and welcome back to the Schooner Pod. And boys, the unthinkable has happened. The Oklahoma Sooners not only beat the Alabama Crimson Tide, they destroyed them, frankly, 24-3 in a defensive just masterclass. And look, before we get into this, guys, first of all, I'm Bobby Howard. With me, we got James Maxwell, Ty Lee. Before we get into this, though, I know this isn't the same Alabama. What we could, I'm sure one of our co-hosts will talk about Kalen DeBoer, all of that. But what a resounding, incredible just moment for the program, and just for this team that has been through so much, for these fans that have been through so much hardship, so much difficulty, and to get a win like that in the fashion they got it in, with the stakes of the bowl streak and everything, this was just absolutely incredible, Jameson.
Ty needed it too, because he had been talking about it all season. That's a profit over there on the right side of your screen, everybody.
Right, and I don't want to start this with a main rant about Kalen DeBoer.
No,
we'll talk about Kalen DeBoer.
Right.
This is about the Oklahoma Sooners.
I wanted to set him up because he deserves it, because he came out and he said it. A lot of people were doubting it. I picked Oklahoma to cover, but I mean, how much confidence do I have in that? Not really. Really what it is we finally leaned into the strengths that we had, and we didn't shoot ourselves in the foot. And look what happened. We actually had a clean game where we didn't turn the ball over, and our offensive line looked good, and we didn't try to do too much. It was great.
Yeah.
And I mean,
just to clarify, we did turn the ball over, Jameson.
Oh, we did.
And that was right. And that was the thing, is there was that period of time, that stretch where Taylor Tatum fumbles, and then you also, of course, have that, kind of decent drive where, you set up the double pass that Bauer Sharp drops, and then you shank a field goal. It felt like one of those games that we've seen all season long, but they stayed the course, kept grinding. And I mean, I don't know. This felt like I felt like they were going to screw it up until I think the Kip 6. And then I was like, oh wait, we should win this.
Damn, you're broken. If the Kip 6 was the one where you thought I was going to get screwed up, you're a broken man.
Yes, I am. But that was the moment when I'm like, oh my God, we should win this thing. Like, we should win this.
I will say with Bobby, I kind of felt the same way too. That was probably when I started to believe that OU was going to actually win this football game, especially I think and this kind of starts to jump into some of the more game analysis, but when we had those 3 drives in the first quarter where we went down there, didn't get any points, missed the kick, and then didn't get any points, getting all the way down into the red zone, I was just sitting there wondering how much more the offense had in them, because I, just assuming that they were going to make adjustments, whatever we were doing was not going to work. And I was pretty worried. Actually, it was most of our yards. If you actually go and look at our yards, so I was pretty correct in that analysis. But I was very worried that we had missed out on a chance to generate, I guess at the least 9 points, but potentially as many as 21 points. And that was very worrisome to me, because I had a feeling that it was going to be kind of like the Tennessee game, where there was a moment at the start where you could believe, okay, we're in this one, if we don't turn this stuff over and everything else. And I just had this sinking feeling the whole time about those drives early on not turning into points.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've seen this all season, where it's like, oh, defense set us up for success. Oh, we got ourselves a good position to score, and we just squander it. And I was pissed in that first quarter, guys. I was pissed just because I was like, I'm tired of watching the same old stuff. I've seen this. It's just pissing me off. But what it really comes down to is whenever the leader of your team doesn't turn over, I understand Taylor Tatum turned it over, but whenever Jackson Arnold doesn't turn the ball over, and our play caller and Jackson have the understanding that we're going to do what we think is our strength, and that's running the ball. We cannot pass the ball with our wide receivers, and maybe going downfield isn't your best thing in your repertoire, Jackson. But running the ball with the quarterback and running the ball outside the tackles, I feel like we have something here. And guess what happens whenever you call a game suited towards your offense? It looks pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, they heard the chirps about how OU is red Iowa, all of that, and they're like, you know what? Yeah, bet. And essentially turn this team into a option team. And it worked. And you got to give Joe John Finley credit for devising a really, really good offensive scheme. That was exactly how you win football games. And none of that would be possible really without the emergence of Xavier Robinson, who has been absolutely excellent in the time we've seen. Obviously burnt his red shirt to play in this game. But what a absolute performance from a player that, genuinely looks like our best offensive player at the moment. I know it's still small sample size.
There's no head to that. Like right now he looks like it. You can say he looks like it.
Because I think he is, like just right now. I think Arnold's like pretty solid, don't get me wrong, but I think overall Xavier Robinson, he's incredible. And the development apparently he's been having behind the scenes, you've heard it here and there, to get to this point. You got to give him credit. I'm a little shocked that it took him to get to this point. Apparently he wasn't ready as a freshman, but to do this in just a couple months is kind of madness. And I don't know, this team looks entirely different with Robinson. I don't know if you want to play the ground and pound in the future, and whatever OC you hire, hopefully probably doesn't play this, but as a Band-Aid, as a stopgap to try to win football games, it absolutely worked.
I mean, you can still have a good passing attack, but be run centric. We see that across college football in some programs. Obviously, I'm a little biased here because the Los Angeles Chargers are doing it right now, and I think it looks pretty good, where if you are going to run and focus on your offensive line, and you can still have a really damn good quarterback back there and sling it and have a good offense. So in the future, like it doesn't have to be this spread option. This doesn't have to be the Lincoln Riley passing offense that we had in the past. It can be different. If it's run centered in the future with whoever we get, that is just okay.
Yeah, just more of like a pro style balanced offense, and I'm fine with that. And look, Taylor Tatum, I know he had that bad fumble and he's been fumbling brutally, but that's fixable, I think. I'm not remotely giving up on him, and I think him and Robinson together make a damn good duo. Kind of a physical back on one end and a speed back on the other. I think that balance could pay dividends for you down the line. I think the future in that room is exciting. But I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how that goes going forward. Clearly a great future for Robinson. Super pumped to have him. And let's talk about this too. Offensive line. I feel like there was a point where we had almost given up on him because we kind of had, but the development they've made in the past couple of weeks has been incredible.
It's funny whenever you let your young guys play and get some continuity, how things start to look. Yeah, I came on here and I was talking a lot about stuff about Howland and Ozida. But the thing is, young people are supposed to make mistakes. It's been almost kind of a mantra of this season that young people are making mistakes. Of course they are. We're putting a lot on first-year starters. And whenever you throw a guy like Howland into this offense, like for a couple series, then immediately quick pull him, he's not going to look that good. But now that we've kind of started to show some things and the left side of our line's looking pretty darn solid, it's crazy how much that adds up. Because whenever the left line looks solid and you can kind of stop the playmakers on the other side that are usually playing on that weak side, your offense completely opens up. Because our passing game, even though we threw the ball like 11 times, like 11. We can go out there and do what we want to do. If you give them a couple extra seconds, we weren't getting that beforehand.
And what's wild is that 11 wasn't even a true 11. Like some of those were shuttle passes.
That's right.
So
we did have 2 or 3 of those.
Hey, those were good though. They were good.
They were. I think Joe John, rewatched the film of that 2002 game, the Ronaldo works drive, and was like, let's work that in. That worked last time. I thought it was pretty solid though. you got to give credit to those young guys, Ozida and Howland, who, a little bit maligned early, but definitely have gotten better. And, development in the long game is definitely a strength of Biedenbaugh's. And yeah, I don't know. I would be pretty shocked if he went anywhere, to be honest.
Yeah. And Eddie Pierre-Louis got 12 snaps in this game too, out of the 62. You saw that. That was fun. So, I mean, in terms of where I was about 3 or 4 weeks ago, where I was pretty darn pissed about this whole quick pull him out, put him back in, kind of Bill Beatenbow offensive line. That was like, come on, Bill. Like, this ain't going to work. Like, you're just killing people's confidence. He shifted, and he's finally put his confidence in his young guys. Maybe a Jacob Sexton injury had to happen for Bill Beatenbow to finally be like, all right, Logan Howland, you're going to stay in. And look how it's turning out.
Yeah.
Well, and Jameson, how much do you think that this can be credited to Joe John Finley as well? Do you think he's going in there and taking over the big OC job, kind of saying, hey, we're going to stabilize personnel a little bit, or hey, we're going to plug new people in? Because, I mean, particularly with Xavier, like we talked about, it's a guy that, they had been saying needed some development to get to the point that he's at right now, but also not someone that we really saw being used the way that we've seen lately, and particularly in the play calling. Do you think that Joe John is getting that level of influence on the O-line as well to maybe make some personnel decisions that Coach Beatenbaugh was not making before?
I would hope so, but I understand. Like, if I was Joe John taking this job in the middle of the season, you have to go and talk to a guy like Bill. Like, that'd be a really hard conversation to have. But like you said, like with Xavier Robinson coming in, we already know from like reports that DeMarco Murray is like very hard to like kind of go beyond his inclination, his first inclination of who you are. It takes a little bit to break into the rotation, because even though Taylor Tatum got a lot of play as a true freshman, that was rare from all of DeMarco Murray's time as a running backs coach. So with Xavier Robinson being on the scout team, do you really think he was going to break that rotation? Was the Javonte Barnes injury also another, positive for us? Even though he's been great for us this whole season, we got to see something beyond just our top 3 guys and bring in Xavier Robinson, who should be our number 1 guy moving forward.
Yeah. And I mean, that's that. Obviously, you never want anyone to be injured, but I think that can be silver linings in a way, as you get to see some of that roster that you wouldn't, and you get to kind of stress test them in ways that you can't get outside of practice. So maybe if there is a silver lining, it would be that. But
yeah, and Xavier Robinson just brings so much to this offense. If we're going to play if we're not going to pass the ball a lot, we're going to have to make sure we are not getting caught in 2nd and 12, 2nd and 11, stuff like that. We need like 2nd 8, 2nd 7 at the worst, right? Xavier Robinson, he falls forward every single time. Like, chances if you're getting negative yards with Xavier Robinson, it's because the play got blown up. So he's going to be a huge weapon for the way that we're playing right now, because every little yard's going to matter, because how much do you believe in this team to convert on a 3rd and 10? Not that much the way that we're playing. But if the way we're playing is, 3rd and 3, I feel really damn good if you give Xavier Robinson a 3rd and 3.
Oh yeah. He's going to get those yards. It really does feel like, without a doubt, at that point, that he's going to do it. And, it's one of those things that, you saw that last drive against Missouri and you're like, damn, this kid's good, for one. 2, you're like, he's going up against a bit of a worn out Mizzou team that, isn't exactly the toughest. And how much can we trust that? So seeing him go up against guys that are going to be playing in the NFL, probably, like this Alabama team, you can physically see it. You can see the advantage they have physically. Just even from my seats up where I'm at, up in 105, you can see just how big those D linemen are. You can see how massive the linebackers are. It is shocking to see the difference there. And, I think to see him do that against an Alabama team that, I mean, say what you will about them, they have some damn athletes on that team. And the physicality that Robinson provided, that the line provided, yeah, that was pretty impressive.
Yeah. Look, we're not going to dive into it too much, but Bama only has one problem.
Oh,
and
It's a guy who wears a t-shirt.
It is, yes, it's their head coach, but that's we'll get into that a little bit later.
I think that we'd be remiss not to even just touch on the freaking double pass or the Brennan Thompson play. How much did that make you guys angry? I know Ty, you have your thoughts on that, but like, it was a bad throw. Still, Bauer sharp. You get your hands on that freaking ball, you catch that. I thought whenever we dropped that, I was like, all right, it's done. We can only score so many points in this game. There's no more shots. We're done.
I mean, especially after the Schmidt miss too. It was like, oh, God, jeez.
I was like, it's all back. It's all like, coming back.
We're going to do the exact same thing.
I was ugly laughing at that. Ugh.
I angrily got up and I was like, I'm gonna go grab a beer right now. I'm mad.
That's a good.
Yeah. Ty, what were your thoughts on all of that? I thought it was a great play call.
Brennan Thompson is a sleeper agent sent by Texas. If you look up his record, it's all there. And we've now tested, it doesn't matter if you're throwing to him or if you're letting him throw it, it will result in an incompletion. So I was not at all surprised. The second I saw his hands touching the ball, that was actually a positive outcome, because whenever you're involving him in a play, most likely, the most likely outcome there was Bama pick 6. So I was actually very pleased to see that result in an incomplete, because with an evil person like Brennan Thompson touching the ball, you never know what's going to happen.
I don't know.
It should also be noted that he's hurt.
I have no idea where all your hate came from, Brennan Thompson. Ty, it just one day appeared. I think Ty just needs
not. Yeah, one day it appeared when I saw him play. I didn't hate him when he didn't play.
All of Ty's people that he randomly hates on got hurt, so he needed to find a new one.
Yeah, this guy was supposed to be our number 6 wide receiver. Let's just put that in perspective. He never was supposed to be this.
Yeah,
but I think based off that injury, it kind of looked like high ankle-y. So I think if I'm remembering it right, he got kind of caught up and like kind of looked like he went into like a limbo with his legs going one way, his back on the other. So depending on what that is, it might be a couple weeks out. So I wouldn't feel too good about him in the LSU game. But some people come back with those high ankle sprains. I feel like I had a conversation earlier in the year about high ankle. It's like you either come back from it and you're fine, or you have to take a couple weeks off.
Yeah. Well, and when you look at how we beat Alabama, receivers were not a part of it. Leading receiver was Bauer Sharp with 2 receptions for 21 yards.
Gross.
So, yeah, a little bit gross, but that's just the way we're winning right now. And the fact that we won a game at all is pretty insane. Doing against Alabama, number 7 in the country, in a manner such as that is just impressive.
Deion Burks was like a big deal too. Like with him, the concussion, you would hope that he'd be back for LSU next week. And then like Jalil Farouk re-aggravated his foot. That sucks, So like, but still, like, there's hope for next week.
Now, if we want to put on our little conspiracy hat, Jameson, what if one of the reasons why we didn't do that is because we planned on this running scheme? And we're like, well, we don't need them anyways. So let's just have them sit out.
I mean, if you keep them on the outside, it at least gives you a threat. So, I mean, I appreciate the effort. If Deion's going to be healthy, hopefully he's going to be playing next week. I'm going to assume that until I hear elsewise.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
I do really love the idea, though, that OU is playing its final home game and probably not going to make a bowl, and the only other chance would be playing in Death Valley and then making the decision to sit star receivers.
Yeah, probably not the best conspiracy I've ever come up with, but anyways, so offense, just tough, grinded out, incredible performance.
Game ball to X.
Game ball to X. Absolutely. Awesome moment too. After one of those touchdowns, they started playing XCOM Give It To You over the PA, which was very nice touch. Yeah, game ball, Xavier Robinson. Obviously the offense was, I mean, impressive for OU standards for sure. But overall, this was a defensive performance for the ages. In my opinion, best defensive performance since the national title game in 2000, when you held that Chris Winkie team to, I believe, 2, which The 2 points were a safety that the punter kicked into the end zone. So pretty solid there. Overall, just holding Alabama to freaking 3. Lowest scoring output. Last time they didn't score a touchdown was 2011 in that 9-6 victory over LSU in that just crazy 1 versus 2 matchup.
Gross.
And this is the last time they scored 3 was 2004. So it has been a long time since an Alabama offense looked this bad. And again, like the Kayla DeBoer bits, whatever, we'll get into that. This is a pretty solid Alabama offense. This is an Alabama offense that ripped LSU apart bit by bit a couple weeks ago. And Brent Venables had Jalen Milroe in absolute hell.
Yeah, Ty, did you see on the TV just like how many times they go like close up on Jalen Milroe's face and he just looked like a little puppy dog? He was like, what do I do? Like his eyes were wide and he was just like, what is going on?
Yeah, it really did seem like he was having one of those nights where you could tell that he probably didn't feel off. Like everything probably felt like it always normally feels. And then just nothing was working. And it's just one of those. He looked legitimately, he didn't look scared or anything like that. He just looked very confused as to why basically nothing was working. And, you know, I think maybe there is some credit to him. Like he made some pretty good throws. And, you know, they probably did. It certainly would not have decided the game, but they probably did have a touchdown there in the 4th that was just tremendous. But
that was pitiful. I don't know what the hell that call was. Like being covered up. Like what? Like
I do have to
thank
say
God this game was 24-3 because I don't know if I could hear it from Roll Tide Willie and all of the Bama fans for the next year.
Yeah, no, but this is no discredit to Milroe, but I really saw it in this one because I was really emotionally invested in the outcome, obviously. But I mean, Williams especially, but Bama's receivers are so impressive. Like they were just like some of the plays that they were doing when they had good plays was just like legitimately looked NFL level, which was like really, really impressive. Just fan of the sport. They're fun to watch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, dude. Ryan Williams going to be a dude in what I guess 2.5 years now. Whenever he's going to get his first snaps in the pros, like that dude's going to be an absolute. It's going to be like Malik Neighbors this year. It's going to be like Jamar Chase in the past. He's just going to be an instant impact game changer to someone's franchise. He is that incredibly good,
no doubt. And I think all that being said, Eli Bowen did a fantastic job on it,
dude. Wild that the true freshman that was like at the bottom of our D-backs room coming into this season got every single snap in this game, did not take a single snap off. How much we rotate our defense, you know, how many guys, can y'all tell me how many players on this defense got every single snap?
I'm going to go.
It's going to be pretty obvious who never mind. I'm not going to say who it is. Yeah, it's 3. It's pretty obvious who the other 2 are. I almost just told y'all the freaking answer. Yes, it's 3. It's Danny Stutzman, Billy Bowen. That is just wild that you put Eli into that same category. Like how much things have changed and how much he's just proven himself. And you give him the responsibility of guarding one of the better wide receivers in the nation. And he has 2 catches for 37 yards and he jumps a route and changes the game. Like huge job by Eli.
Yeah. And that was one of those matchups, particularly where, and this is maybe one of the more infuriating things about this game was especially the Bama receivers versus the OU defense. It looked like high level SEC ball. Like it's what you were expecting from this team. If you rewind the clock 2 years and say, hey, you know, OU is going to be in the SEC night game versus Bama. What like level of play are you expecting? That's what I would have expected. Like you saw a lot of people, like that's not a necessarily unique take, but it, you know, a little frustrating that we haven't had this OU team show up in other games throughout the year. But yeah, that like his matchups, particularly like that's just such a career starting game right there. Cause it's, you get all the eyes on it. And coming in and like you said, playing all the snaps and doing a very, very, very solid performance is just, it was so impressive.
Yeah. I mean, as a true freshman, it's unbelievable.
An undersized 5'9" true freshman going out and doing what he's doing. Like, this guy still's got a lot of weight to put on. He's still got a lot of film to watch, and he's doing it. Like, it's just that special.
Yeah. I mean, just genuinely remarkable performance from Bowen. Just thrilling stuff. I thought also other standouts, just totally flipping to the other side of the ball, or not ball, but of the defense. The defensive line was unbelievable. I thought that was as dominant a performance as we've seen from an OUD line in a long time. Our Mason Thomas has been excellent this entire season, but I thought he was just living in that backfield on Milroe. Dominic Williams, very solid down low as well. Trace Ford even got in on the action. I thought he played really, really well as well. Just excellent stuff from the big men up front.
Yeah, dude, DJ Terry got in that backfield a couple of times where he was running free. And when you see DJ Terry running free in the backfield, it's like, oh, Lord, that's a big man. That's a scary sight right there. Honestly, do you have any critiques of the defensive line? I don't. They played such a good game. Like, and plus, whenever you have the linebackers continuing to be that consistent, like when the defensive line plays like that versus a team that strives off running the ball like Jalen Milroe and the Alabama running back room, that's going to be a tough night for them.
Yeah, and really the D-line, I think to go back to one of your original points on the defense, Jameson, was, Milroe just looking confused. I think the D-line is the primary reason for that. And it's one of those things where I don't even think it was a Bama like look ahead or sleeping on OU or anything like that. Like, they saw a D-line performance, particularly with pressure, that is just not on tape. Like, it's, if you're Bama, like, even if you're fully dialed in and know exactly what to expect from this OU team, you could not have expected the level of pressure and the performance from the D-line that you got, because it hasn't been seen. So I think, the D-line in particular really was a big key, because I think, like always, lean too much on the secondary and you're going to give up a lot more than, let's say they gave up 7 points. You're going to give up a lot more than 7 points through the air if you really have to risk your secondary the whole game with, Milroe is a decent quarterback and then that level of receiver play. So yeah, the D-line, I think, was really the group that stepped up, and you were able to see the other groups, the linebackers and the secondary, perform in situations that I guess were much more conducive to their success because of the D-line really, really stepping up, like whatever it was that clicked for them yesterday night.
And I think, to me, it's one of those things that I think, one, you can look at as much tape as you want and scheme and all that, but that was a matter of just, they whooped their ass. They got physical with them. They weren't, I don't think Alabama was prepared for that type of game. And I think that was the case on the defensive line, on the offensive line. That game was won in a lot of ways by pure aggression. OU was the more aggressive team, the more physical team. And we've seen when Alabama isn't the more physical team, that's when they struggle. That's why they struggled against Vanderbilt. Again, they can get out physical by lesser athletes. And that was the case here. And, we're not an Alabama podcast, so we're not going to be the ones to diagnose why that's the case, but
I'll do it right now.
It's a clear problem. It's a clear problem if you're Alabama, but that's not my problem to fix. I'm happy that OU just whooped their ass. It was great. In using the phrase "they wanted it more" is a kind of crap to say in football or in sports, because everybody wants it. But you could tell that OU team had a different edge to it. They were ready to play, and Alabama kind of wasn't.
Ty, do it. Go in.
It's time. Rip off the Band-Aid.
It's like they have the exact same personnel. Like, there was no meaningful personnel turnover.
There was a lot of transfers, but they transferred guys in too. So
not to a massive extent, and they didn't have a ton of like churn in the portal necessarily either. And it's like you said it yourself. You can sit up in what is it, section 115, 116, 118, something like that you sit in and notice that, oh my goodness, like their linebackers are the size of our linemen in some cases. Like it's yeah. And then like you're gonna say like, oh, like this is, we've seen them get out physicaled before against Vanderbilt. Like it's crazy. It's why I've known since September that OU was going to win this game.
I'll say about
a good coach.
Yeah, I'll say this about the physicality. Whenever you have your leader of your defense and Danny Stutzman come up, shift over, and get a tackle for a loss right off the bat on Jalen Milroe, first play of the game for Alabama's offense, that's a trendsetter right there. That's going to set the tone for the whole night. And we kind of talked about it a little bit in our weekend spread this last week, but this team had a lot of things not going for them in the locker room, from the fan base, just the overall morale on the team. But whenever you have a guy like Danny Stutzman and his persona and who he is and how much he loves Oklahoma, and this being his last game in the stadium, he's going to go out there and he's going to get his defense ready. You're not going to be on that same field as him and not be fired up and going 110%. So he is an absolute savior for this team, because I wonder if we didn't have a leader like him in the locker room, what would this team be like? Because if he can go out there, set the example right off the bat, like the defense is one of the better defenses in the country.
Yeah, and I mean, it would have been so easy to fold after that Missouri game, the way you lost that, the opportunity you had to make a bowl like that. And not only after that Missouri game, but after just how many heartbreaks you've had, how many just brutal, tough losses. I get it. It would have been really tough to give up morale, and you see everything happen with the recruits, and just the vibe was as bad as it gets.
Fasusi just said #boomer on his Twitter account.
I hope Fasusi had the worst FOMO of all time watching this game.
He watched it on his phone. He watched it on his phone. I think in the car is what the word was, because he was at Texas watching the Kentucky game.
Something tells me I would have rather been at this one than Texas Kentucky. That might have been a whiff, but
yeah, he's gonna be in A&M this weekend,
which I don't blame him. Look, if I could get a free ticket to that game, I'd go to it too. That's going to be a banger.
I was going to say that's just I'm going to reopen my commitment just to get the sideline pass to that one.
I mean, I don't blame him. I would do it too. I think everyone should try to be Bobby, onto that field.
You just heard it. Bobby would like to take a visit to Texas A&M if he was a recruit.
I am reopening my recruitment. If the Aggies want me there, my services are open. I think I might have eligibility. I'm not sure.
You might be able to find a booster or two that'll give you an interview for the head coaching position, judging by their message boards after last night.
I will say this, Ty. I could see Bobby being a part of a cult of Texas A&M and wearing that ring all the time. I could see it.
Yeah, you know exactly the thing I would be down for too, is the stupid little Aggie ring.
Boots. You'd love the boots.
I'd be all in on the Aggie ring. I don't know if I'd be in on the little collie cemetery. I don't know.
The yell leaders. Could Bobby be a yell leader?
Whoop. Yeah, I would love to do I love their fight song. I love the band, do the saw varsity horns off. They've
got a lot of great things. They've got a lot of bad things.
Well, considering their campus looks like it's from the Eastern Bloc in the 1980s,
I saw someone trying to tell me the other day, not me in particular, I guess, but someone the other day was getting in this giant argument of trying to say that Texas A&M has the richest alumni base, and then trying to pull up just Cook stats. Hey, we're gonna go off the rails if we get into this.
All right. Yeah, back to this game.
Yeah, back to
another Kip 6. You want to hear something that happened on my TV? So Ashley was watching with me downstairs, and she's like, "All right, I'm gonna go up watch the rest of it in bed." She turns it on upstairs, and then I get a too many devices alert on my ESPN. I was like, oh god.
Oh no.
And so like it was like 10 seconds. I just like logged out of like one of the other streams and then went back into the game. Like it was nothing. And we were kicking a freaking extra point. I was like, what the hell? What the
What
hell?
happened? Oh,
what is
no.
going on? It was so sad that I missed that, but still, like the exhilarating, like what the hell just happened moment of just watching an extra point was also kind of electric. So, but still wild.
Because you're like trying to work backwards. Like, how did this happen? How did that happen so fast? But I mean, both of the all three of the interceptions were absolutely insane in stadium. But the Kip 6 was like, oh, what a moment! Like,
Was it piercing loud? Like really, really loud?
That was probably the loudest I've heard it since Tech in 08.
Really?
Yes, it was on that caliber. It was absolutely on that caliber.
Damn. That's like impressive because the whole thing was like, are the OU fans actually going to show out? You hear like these, it's always sold out, but like how many Bama fans are going to be there? How many Oklahoma fans are actually going to be invested? You know, that's good to hear.
I thought the Alabama turnout was, and it's hard to tell, obviously, but it was not as prevalent as Tennessee. I think it was significantly less prevalent than Tennessee. I mean, you could tell it in kind of they didn't have much to cheer about, of course. But you know, there was you could just kind of see them walking around. It wasn't the same degree of attendance that Tennessee had. It was pretty solid, but not that level. But the intensity from the jump, I thought OU fans were all over it. They showed up. You got to give them credit. It was very, very excellent.
That's good to hear. In the last game of the season, that's kind of sad. Did you have any little sad moments in the stadium?
Not in the stadium. It was weird though, because it didn't get bittersweet. Because of course, and we're kind of jumping around in this show, but that's fine. This is a fun one. It was one of those where I think we got a little emotional watching the field get rushed and everything, and then it just kind of ended. It was like, all right, let's go. And you're sitting there at the tailgate, everyone's celebrating. You're like, we don't have any more of these left. It's just done. So you have like this high point, but you don't have this like, but it's also not done because I'm going to LSU next weekend. So there's this whole kind of, I don't know, it's final, but not final. And it was interesting, but it was, all in all, just a really, really cool experience. I was really proud of how the fan base showed up. It was loud, man. At one point they did a Toby Keith sing along, not the fourth quarter one, but they did a "How Do You Like Me Now," and you could hear it like echoing throughout the stadium. They dropped "Jump Around" several times, and people were getting into it. It was great. It was really, really great.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
That feels really, really good. I mean, we can kind of like wrap a bow on the defense real quick. Game balls Eli Bowen for me, not a question. I understand he didn't get the touchdown like Kip did. Kip's play was great, but Eli playing every single snap, getting the toughest assignment, and getting a pick through sheer. Like, I want this ball more than you do, blocker, and I'm going to go get it. It's there. I don't think there's another option for game ball other than Eli.
Yeah. I mean, as a unit, the defense is really good, so it's hard to single it out. But I mean, Bowen made the biggest difference there. He shut down probably one of Alabama's two best offensive players, and Ryan Williams. I think if you can shut down Williams, you can make Milroe and keep Milroe from running, who was horrible running the football. Then you make him very, very easily. You can shut him down easily, and he did about as good a job on Williams as you could. Even that touchdown that shouldn't have been called back. If you look at the way he covered it, he needed to make a miraculous catch if he was going to get that one, because they were all over him. So, yeah, there we go. Our guy Tree says Kalen DeBall not nowhere deserves the defensive game ball. I love it. Ty?
That's actually what I was just about to say.
He took your bit.
We knew this was
coming. Would have been all negative if I had said it, but I'll change it. I'll do someone besides Kalen DeBall not nowhere. I'll say Bama's athletic director for hiring Kalen DeBall not nowhere. But
this guy was DeBall not nowhere was like option number like 3 or 4 for them. They did strike out a couple times, so you got to feel like maybe they were kind of pressed.
I mean, really, that's as good as you can get from like prying a guy. I still think it's not the worst hire in the world. I think it's an impossible task to follow up a Nick Saban. And I don't know, say what you will, but it's hard to carry that standard from one guy to another. But, especially when you kind of have a system where your coordinators leave, like the only one that really would have been able to carry on what, Nick Saban's doing is Kirby Smart, and you're not getting him from Georgia. So I don't know. Are there any Nick Sabans out there? There really aren't.
Nope.
No, but you don't have to build, like Ryan Day, as much crap as he gets, Lincoln Riley taking over from Bob Stoops. Like, there's certainly a level of coaches who are out there that can take a fully functioning program and just keep it from, realistically, right? It's too soon to tell.
It's a 3-loss season, and they beat Georgia. They stumbled twice. Like, it's a bummer, but like you got to give them a little bit of leeway. Like, it's a first time in a new program, so I'm not on Ty's side of
it is too soon to tell, but it's.
And I mean that standard is pretty intense. They're still 9-3. Believe it or not, can still technically make the playoff.
Missouri could too, Bobby.
I know it. I'm not saying that Alabama shouldn't. Missouri also shouldn't. But I'm just saying.
Did you see this stupid thing that he was yelling on the sideline in Mississippi State?
Yeah, it is Mississippi State, though. It is
chirping Mississippi State.
Jeff Lebby deserved it. So.
Oh my God! Let's not divulge into that. No. Can we talk just a little bit about how the fans are stupid and cost us $100,000 extra? The rushing the field is great, 100,000, but the extra just going early, legitimately $100K down the drain for just being stupid fans.
For not understanding that the game's not over yet.
What the hell?
Bad.
What the hell are they thinking? Like, I don't even so earlier in the day, that happened, and I'm like, okay, this kind of makes sense. Right? Us, no, that did not make sense. We needed one more play.
Yeah, we had one more play to give Casey Thompson the knee. And you can tell they're not used to rushing the field because they clearly didn't know how to do it. So that's pretty hilarious. And like Michael said, that's the definition of a Sooner, going out there claiming land before you're supposed to.
The commitment to the bit in the name, I hadn't thought about that until just now, but that is, you gotta. You have to go early as the Sooners. So that's it's actually really beautiful. It's poetic.
It's weird though, like you said, Bobby, we have not been in this position to even consider rushing the field. And even times we've had upsets or like close games versus highly ranked opponents, it's like we've been at the position where like we deserve to win this game if we go out there and do what we need to. And we haven't been a brutal double-digit underdog at home as a non-ranked opponent since... ? I don't know. These things.
Yeah, I mean, as an unranked opponent, I don't know. I'm just thinking about OU as a home dog against top level opponents. It's just very rare.
But you didn't get many opportunities like this anyways whenever you're in the Big 12, because in the Big 12, it'd mostly be Texas. Sometimes you'd get, the K-States, the Missouris come to town whenever they'd be highly ranked, but nothing to like the degree of an Alabama coming to town this late in the season. Yeah. You just don't get that.
Well, the problem in the Big 12 too was all of the minor teams got their legitimacy from beating OU. So like they never came in highly ranked, because for them to attain, like TCU, right, is always a classic example. Like for them to attain a highly ranked status, or even Baylor, back in the Art Briles days, right? Like you didn't get respect until you beat OU. So we just never had the game like this. So that is, a little benefit of the SEC.
Yeah.
Oh, Jameson did not agree with that one.
No, but I mean, the last time OU played I believe a top 10 team was TCU in 2017. They were ranked 7. We were like,
man,
5.
that was a nice
Yeah.
game.
That was
a
a
really
fun
fun
day.
game.
It's a good game to watch with our old buddy Boaton Blake. I tell you what, that was fun. It's just rare to have like a top 10 team. I think it's like, if you look at it, it's like TCU, Texas Tech, and then like Nebraska in 2000. It is very rare to have a win like that. And you know, like you said, Jameson, anytime you would win, it would be, well, you're really good too. You're supposed to do it. So being a dog is yeah. And I think that's one of the reasons why it's okay. You don't want to make it a habit or anything, but I think anyone poo-pooing it, come on. We've had a tough season. Let it happen.
Let people have fun. Let fans be fans and let them have fun. Like, if you want to sit there and be a grouch about things, that's just silly.
Yeah. I'm just disappointed we had the goalposts that automatically lower. I didn't know we had that
almost
prepared.
all of college football are doing that nowadays. It's just,
then how does
financially you need that so bad.
How do people keep nabbing the goalpost then? You know, I wanted them to take the goalpost and throw them in the duck pond, Jameson.
We need to actually have a conversation about this, because is this something that can be traced back to OU's or maybe even the state of Oklahoma's educational system? Because
God,
listen, if the goalposts fold over like that, in my mind, right, all you're doing is giving so much more surface area for people to grab on. And then there's a joint right there that is meant to flex only in one direction. And you just get a couple hundred people grabbing onto the goalpost. Like, because the goalpost, when it's up, right, you can't actually get that many people on it to tear it down. Like the number of people who can actually put hands on it and put force on it to tear it down is just so much less. Like, we should have been able to rip those things to shreds if they're just going to fold down onto the ground like that, right? Then everyone can grab a piece, and then you just got to go side to side a little bit and get those joints, and it'll snap at the joint right there, and then everyone can just continue to tear pieces. Like, it should have been 30 seconds, that thing's ripped off from its mounts, and then eventually, right, like one goalpost is getting carried out, and then the other one is getting tossed over the back end of the stadium like an opponent's kicked ball.
Speaking of the opponent kicked balls, a very rare thing that I had never seen happened in this game several times. Anytime a ball from Milrow went sailing into my side of the field on the, I guess it would be the west side, they would keep the ball like a missed field goal and chuck it into the upper deck, which would then go over again. So they were chucking missed punts, airball.
Jalen Milrow yeeted one into like the 10th row. It was like unbelievable.
Yeah, we got that out of there. My buddy who sits in the north end zone said that it got to the point where OU fans were throwing the practice balls out at halftime. So Alabama ran out of footballs and had to stop. They had to stop kicking because they didn't have any balls and had to run them out. Which brings a hilarious precedent if you're just waiting in line for a beer and a ball comes flying at your head.
There's got to be someone who's down there who's just waiting for them. That's their business. They're like, I'm just going to go and wait down for the balls.
Usually they do. But I think, I don't know, having someone wait for the balls but then throwing them out in an unorthodox manners like that, that's the real money there. So great times there. Okay, so I got to ask, like, we've kind of talked about the game. How much does this single win mean for the program as a whole, Jameson?
So much. I hate to completely shift things 180 in the tone that I've had the past month. But whenever something changes, my tone can change too. And we were desperate for something to cling on and really kind of grip as a positive force moving into next season. And we really, really needed this because we talked about the recruits. No recruit goes to a sinking ship. Beating Alabama, that has a lot of respect for these kids. Their whole life, Alabama has been that guy. They've been the dominant force their whole lifetime. They grew up watching these guys right now. Whenever their brains started to actually have memories, they were probably watching Derrick Henry in college. Maybe that might have been their first memories watching football. maybe a little bit after that. So this is big. This is really, really big for us. And plus for the coaching staff too. I think Brent Venable saved his job.
Yeah, I agree. I think he firmly has the head coaching gig still. And it's a program defining win. It's, to me, a sign that like this thing is salvageable, without a doubt, that this defense that you've built is worth saving and worth figuring out. Because here's the thing, this wasn't fluky. This wasn't like OU like did enough to hang in the game and just kind of figured it out. It was an ass beating. And you don't fluke or luck into that. That comes through really good preparation. That comes from the right mindset, and just it was impressive. It was an impressive win. It, I think, helped vindicate the Venables era. Does it make this season a success? Absolutely not. There were issues with this team. There are issues that need to be solved. However, I feel like it's salvageable. You can figure out a way to make this team good for 2025. I think the future is still really bright. And I think the success of the freshmen across the board have to be the biggest takeaway from all of this. The youth performing as well as they has been incredibly encouraging for the future. It's a foundation to build on. Clearly impressed recruits who were loving it. This is what Oklahoma is supposed to be about. You saw some growing pains this year, but overall, I do believe in this program. I do believe in this team. And, I think, OU needed this. I think we all needed it.
Yeah.
This has been obviously a tough football season, but for me, it's been a tough year. Like it's been brutal. It's been tough. Obviously stuff with sellout crowd going the way it did was pretty bad and hard thing to kind of dig out of. And, mentally, sometimes this was just a crappy year. So getting something like this, no, it doesn't solve your problems. And yeah, maybe you're a little too emotionally invested if you get, this is what your thing is, but it's like,
nope, that's what being an Oklahoma fan is, Bobby. You are emotionally tagged to your sports team. And that's what's so great about sport, the ups and downs.
Yeah, it was great. So I just, it felt pretty damn good. And we'll see how it goes. OC search is still going on, but feeling really damn good about where this program's going. Ty?
Yeah, it was obviously a crucial win, particularly for, I think, the seniors, like some of these guys, like Danny Stutzman, obviously, that have given so much to this team and have embodied OU football for their entire tenure. I remember one of the first times we talked about Danny Stutzman on the podcast was before he was even playing, and he was on Michael Turk, our former punter's, his YouTube channel. And they were talking about, this freshman just came in and is already kind of being a leader in the locker room and everything else. And then that had kind of highlighted him. It caused us to start to talk about him before he even saw any snaps. He was a practice squad guy and just in the weight room at the time. So that was super, super cool. And then again, super, super cool for the fans. I know I sent this to our group text, and I'm sure, if you've been to the games in the stadium this season, you've noticed it, and it's certainly been noticeable on TV as well. And obviously there's a lot of games where people come in later, but this was the first game, and granted it was a night game, so it makes it a little easier, but this was the first game where, probably the first one since Tennessee, I think, that you looked at the stadium on TV and it was like, okay, this was a sellout. Like, this isn't a on paper sellout where, we sold all the tickets, but the entire, east side upper deck is empty basically. And you're seeing a lot of aluminum shining around the student section and everything else. Like, this was packed with fans and packed with emotion, and to just have such a wonderful home ending to the season has been super, super important. And it's a win that looked good through and through. Like y'all said, it didn't look like a fluke. And then just the timing of it. Had this been OU's first conference game or something like that, like had this been, flip-flop the Tennessee and the Bama games, right? Like if we play Bama was that like week 4 or something like that, and have this exact same win, it would not carry the same weight because you just don't have that recency bias. You don't have the context of everything that has come before. So now this team is functionally unburdened by what has been before. So that was really cool to see.
Are you saying that Brent Venables has fallen out of a coconut tree?
I'm not going to, for the sake
No.
I want to keep it positive. We're not going to comment on Brent Venables.
Fair enough.
That was a little, yeah.
It's fine.
Bobby got the reference.
Yes, I did. Old Lib Bob back in action. Anyways, incredible game, incredible performance. LSU up next. It kind of feels like a bit of a house money situation, to be honest.
I don't know, Bobby. I still think this game means a lot. I don't think no matter what happens, because ending on a good note is.
I'm sorry.
No, go for it.
You finish it. I was just gonna say, if you go into Death Valley, get Brian Kelly fired, I will seriously entertain the conversation that this season actually was a success. Like if you tell me OU first season in the SEC beats Bama and beats LSU at home in a night game and gets Brian Kelly fired, that's I changed my tune on this entire season if that gets pulled off.
Yeah, I think there's a lot on at stake here, because if we win again, I think what you said with the recency bias, it could completely shift and we finally got our ish together, and maybe we had a bad season, we had injuries, but look what happens whenever we can get the stuff together. Like we got something working going into the SEC whenever you beat 2 of the blue bloods of the SEC, right? If we lose and we look like we did during the middle of the season, there's still going to be some bad taste in your mouth of being like, oh, maybe the Alabama game was just a fluke. If we keep it close, you're like, okay. We're still 6-point dogs, but I still think this is pretty damn high stakes, because you could really, really set a mantra moving forward into the offseason if we win this game.
Oh, yeah. Like the momentum. And I feel like it's a situation when I say house money. If you lose, I don't think it's the end of the world. I don't think
I don't know though, Bobby. Like Alabama was just one game. Like you got to set a trend.
No, I get it. I agree there needs to be a trend, but the facts are the facts. This is still a flawed football team. This is a down season. Even if we win, even if we blow out LSU somehow, knock on wood, it's not going to happen. Probably. Even if you beat LSU, it's still down year, still a long way to go. You got your big win, you got bowl eligibility. And, so it's like, I feel like the floor of what can happen at LSU is pretty high, and the ceiling is through the roof. Like if you can beat LSU, if you can complete a 2-week sweep of Alabama and LSU back to back, that will be incredibly impressive. I'm with you. That would be an unreal momentum entering signing day. All of that, like it would be huge. It'd be a statement, and would take the momentum we have now and set it through the roof. I don't think it would ruin momentum that much. Ty?
It's all about how the messaging is run. Obviously, I think one of the big issues that, if I really dig into it and be sort of pessimistic, the offense was not necessarily super impressive against Bama. Entire body of work. So that's certainly something that I think if OU can go into LSU, and this is little plug, tune into the weekend spread to see where we pick this game and where we think the final score is going to be. But in a hypothetical where OU could go into LSU and show an actual step forward with the offense, and then also win that game, that would be something that you really could point to the messaging and say, hey, this was a fluke. Like Seth Luttrell really was that bad. Like Joe John Finley has been putting in work, and look what he's done with these sort of broken pieces and salvage things. But the reason I was raising my hand is I have a much funnier hypothetical. How would you feel about the season? I want sort of a short answer from both y'all. and this touches on something that 1982 was asking in the chat here a little bit, and has been all over Twitter and everything else. I'm sure you guys have seen, but how would you feel if OU, obviously we've already beaten Bama, then we beat LSU at, Death Valley at home at night, and then we get USC in a bowl game and just embarrass Lincoln Riley and USC? How would you feel about this season in retrospect?
Man, they're going to have to really push it. I mean, I understand we're both bowl eligible, but where's the tie-in there for that? Because, so I know we've got Gasparilla Bowl. Is that ACC?
It's American, I think. It's
American.
So the bowl tie-ins are
ones.
So the bowl tie-ins are really, really messy this year because all of the Pac-12 teams that left have to honor Pac-12 contracts. So, like, the Pac-12 functionally still exists for bowl season. If that makes sense.
Does that help us, though? That might help us.
The option that makes the most sense is the Las Vegas Bowl, which would be pretty funny and pretty awesome.
That would.
I don't know.
That's where Lincoln Riley is going to be an OC in like a year.
You're gonna meet with Al Davis, or
and the Raiders, Davis. Not at UNLV. Blake salivating here.
He's gonna replace Brendan Berrien. Yeah, I don't know. I keep see people keep
Las
talking
Vegas
about that.
Would be a pretty good. I don't know if 6-win Oklahoma would get into the Las Vegas Bowl, right? Isn't that like a pretty high? It's like a higher level one.
It's also like an early December one. I don't know. It's weird because there's the
Birmingham Bowl and the Gasparilla Bowl are the bottom of the SEC's bowl bids. So if we're 6-6, Vanderbilt will probably be 6-6 too. I think that we probably get one of those, right?
Yeah. And the Montgomery Bowl or Gasparilla Bowl, probably. I could see. I don't know.
Gasparilla would be fun. Tampa Bay, that's a fun place.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty cool that there's the Gasparilla Bowl. I wish it was the Bad Boy Mowers Bowl still. That would have made it even better.
R.I.P.
R.I.P. to that. Actually, I think they sponsor the Pinstripe Bowl now. Anyways, beside the point. Yeah, I mean, Gasparilla would be interesting. There's still a chance for like the Independence Bowl, which would not be fun going to Shreveport.
I don't care. Send me anywhere in the country. I'm a happy camper. Independence. I think was there a chance we could go to Frisco?
Frisco Bowl. I saw a prediction that was Frisco versus Kansas.
Yeah, that's CBS that has that.
The Guaranteed Rate Bowl in Arizona is on option. So
it depend on who we'd play, whether or not I'd go to that. I might go and just do my throw coins at Brent Venable's strategy. Pocket change.
Oh my God. I think it was Virginia Tech for that, but
that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, I see Virginia Tech in the Gasparilla Bowl as one of the options from ESPN's Cal Bonagura.
Yeah, I think it's just too early to tell right now. It depends on how many teams get into the playoff from the SEC and a couple other factors, but I don't know. I'm just happy that the streak's not over and you get those practices. We talked about it on the Alabama football podcast last week. It's what, like a quarter of your practices?
Mm-hmm.
That was a good podcast, by the way. Yeah, you guys said 25%. That didn't sound believable at all.
No, wait, why are we putting Blake into the show? Blake,
I think he just let himself in.
Blake just let himself into our Alabama recap. We're doing the weekend spread.
This is Boomer Blake. It's Boomer Blake.
All right, Boomer Blake. What do you think? What did you think about the game?
You guys hyping up the Gasparilla Bowl and stuff as good outcomes for the season. So
this is the turnaround. This is the start to something great down in Norman. I think we should really be celebrating this like 2000, like the tweet said. Oh my God, the vibes have never been higher in Norman.
I gotta say, speaking of bowls, there is a non-zero chance we get OU-TCU.
That would be hilarious.
Give me OU
so bad.
OU-TCU in the Liberty Bowl, or like OU-TCU in the Texas Bowl. Like, we would have to find a way to make that work.
Yes,
But,
I would definitely. Like,
OU
if I'm
versus
able to make it
TCU
work.
in Texas would be amazing.
Yeah, down in Houston, it'd be hilarious. But okay, so Blake, we're gonna remove you and just close this
What's
podcast
the date
out.
of that Liberty Bowl?
I don't know. It's. I'm sure it's dirty though.
Yeah, that's
we'll
in
look
Memphis,
at.
right?
Yeah, we could go see the Duck Hotel.
Why the hell is the Liberty Bowl in Memphis?
Because it's
What
just
am I missing here?
always
That's
been
where
there.
the Liberty Bell is at, Jameson.
That is a good point. The Nashville bowl game could be fun. What?
Ty, how did you convince him of that?
I told him.
Bobby,
He's just rolling. He wasn't agreeing. He's just doing.
I wasn't
that thing where I
agreeing
say
with it. I'm just
something
trying to end the podcast.
roll
Bobby
with
just
it.
got gaslit into believing that the Liberty Bell is in Memphis, Tennessee.
It could be.
They
Maybe they stole it and it's there now.
they signed the Constitution in the Bass Pro Shop.
When Bobby did that, there was a slight part of me where I go, "Is it?" I'm like, but I've seen it in Philadelphia. Like,
Oh
I'm
my
so
God.
confused. Whatever. Yeah, we can
Yeah.
cut the podcast.
Yeah, so we're going to be recording Weekend Spread after this for all the live viewers. So stick with us. Wait for that video to pop up. But great win, guys. So happy to actually talk about a freaking win. Yeah, just a truly great night if you're a Sooner fan. And to add to it, we have come full circle with the Tennessee fans, which is pretty funny. Had to smoke a cigar, gave a little hat tip to our friends at Channel TN, and now I have just scores of Tennessee fans in my mentions celebrating the Sooners. So we have come full circle with the Vols. So love to see that. But hey, thank you all so much for listening to us all season long. I know it's been a tough one. I know it's hard as hell to want to listen to any OU talk during a bad season. So I just really appreciate y'all sticking with us, continuing to listen. And this is, like I said against Missouri, better things are yet to come. Just stick with it, and it's going to happen for the Sooners. So, all right, for me, Jameson and Ty, this has been the Schooner Pod. We'll see you next week to break down the LSU game. And have a good one, everybody. Boomer Sooner, y'all.